Algebra 1. We are ready to start our notes for the next section. We are doing slope formula, and with slope formula we are going to be doing some calculating in order to get our slope instead of graphing. It definitely helps us whenever our points are a lot larger. We don't want to make graphs and then count the rise over the run, especially when numbers get like bigger than 5. It's just a lot of extra work to graph. So we are going to do the slope formula, and again, slope is still rise over run, but whenever you are given coordinates, we always write our coordinates as an x and then a y. And today we are actually going to have 2 points, and they both have an x and a y coordinate. Now, the first point we see, we're going to call it x1 and y1 because it's the first one we see. And the second one we're going to call x2 and y2 because it is the second x and y coordinate that we see. So whenever we are doing slope, we always are finding our rise, which is our up and down movement between 2 points, and then we divide it by the run, which is the left and right movement, or the x-axis. So our rise is always the up and down axis, so we're talking about the y's here, and then here we're talking about the change in x. So whenever you're doing a change, if we want to know the difference between two numbers, we subtract. So our formula for today, we are going to take the second y and subtract it from the first for our top number. So to get our rise and then our run, we're going to take x2 minus x1. So the first thing we are going to do today is we are going to label our axis, or label our coordinates, and then we are going to be doing some subtracting, and I will get a calculator out. We will be doing the subtraction together, and then if we have to simplify, we will. So I will tell you guys at first, I'm going to actually, and you don't have to do this as we get farther along, but I'm going to start writing boxes. So we have an x and a y coordinate, so that's 2 numbers, and then another x and y, so a total of 4 numbers we're plugging in, and we are subtracting them, so we got to make sure we follow the rules for subtracting, even subtracting negative numbers. So on this first example, we are looking at, and I'm sorry if it goes out of focus, I'm doing my best trying to stay in focus here. All right, and let's see if that'll let me zoom in a little bit. There we go. All right, so we are looking at our first point of 5, negative 11. So I know for that first point, this is my x, and I'm going to call it x1 because it's the first x. And then this is y1 because it's the first y I see. And then on the other point, we have our second x coordinate and our second y coordinate, so I'm going to call those x2 and y2. So now we are actually ready to subtract. And again, I apologize for this quality. This is just, I'm working on getting a new camera, but I like this because you guys can see me doing the work in action, and I can also put a calculator on the screen as well. So whenever we are finding our slope, we have to follow the formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So here we go. We know in order to find the slope, we are going to take y2 minus y1, and we're going to divide it by x2 minus x1. So we have 2 numbers we're plugging in on top, and then 2 numbers we're plugging in on bottom. All right, so the first point that goes in, oh, I'm going the wrong way. My bad. All right, so the first one I'm plugging in, is it focusing? Here we go. All right, y2 is my first number. My y2 is 16, so my 16 is going in right here.
Could all of Joseph Madison's teachers please report to the cafeteria?
All right, and then the second y coordinate is negative 11, so I'm going to put in a negative 11 there. And then for x2 is negative 10, and then x1 is 5. So now we have to follow our rules for adding and subtracting positives and negatives. So the first thing we did at the very beginning of the year, what is subtracting a negative really? So you guys can simply, and I'm just going to put this here, you guys could do 16 minus negative 11 and get 27. Or we can see that two negatives really mean 16 plus 11, which also gives you 27, no matter how you want to type that in. Our top number is 27, and it's a positive. Now on the bottom, they're the same sign, two negatives, so we're going to add them and keep it negative. Negative 10 minus 15, or you can say negative 10 plus negative 15, however you think about that. So negative 10 minus, or it's not 15, it's 5. What am I doing? I'm not even looking at it. All right, clear that. Negative 10 minus 5, negative 15, or negative 10 plus negative 5. However you want to think about that problem, but no matter what you do, you're getting negative 15. Now we have to ask ourselves if we can simplify this, and 27 and 15 are both factors of 3. So we are going to reduce each one of these by 3 to get a slope of negative 9 over 5. And I don't care if you put the negative with the 5, or if you want to write it just out in front of the fraction, that's also okay, just as long as there's only one negative. Because if you put two negatives, that turns it into a positive, and that's not a good thing. So we are subtracting y2 minus y1. So the two y coordinates go on top, the two x coordinates go on the bottom, and we are subtracting. So these two numbers give us the rise. We're going from negative 11 way down in the negatives up to positive 16. So that's a big jump. We're going from a low number to a high number. So that's a positive 27. And then we're going from a 5 to a negative 10. So we start out positive and go negative. So we're dropping. So that's why that number is a negative. All right, so we are ready to try another one, and we're going to follow this same format. Now, I have the boxes written up here, so I'm not going to write the formula again. I'm just going to put empty boxes. And I know this is x1 and y1. This is x2 and y2. So my first point is 2, negative 2, and my second point is 3, negative 10. So we are going to plug in what we know. So the top number, y2 is my first number, negative 10. y1 is negative 2. x2 is 3, and x1 is 2. So we plugged in our numbers, and now we're ready to simplify. So my first thing that I'm going to calculate is negative 10 minus negative 2, which is negative 8, or two negatives also means plus 2, so it ends up being negative 8 either way. So I know my top number is negative 8. All right, and then on the bottom, 3 minus 2, I think we all know that's 1. So we can leave this, and I actually do not care if you leave it as negative 8 over 1, or if you just want to use the whole number, negative 8. Your choice on how you want to write that slope, with a 1 or just with a whole number. All right, so we are going to do another one. All right, so we have, this is my x1 and my y1, negative 16, negative 16, and then my x2 and y2 are negative 18, negative 17. So to find our slope, y's are going on top. Oh, that's a 2. So we got negative 17 and negative 16. And then on the bottom are my x's. x2 is negative 18, x1 is negative 16. So I think we all know that subtracting a negative really means plus on these. So we are doing negative 17 plus 16, which gives me a negative 1. Negative 18 plus 16 is a negative 2. Now, 1/2 can't be reduced, but what do we know about two negatives? I do expect you guys to turn those into a positive, so we would just say our slope is positive 1/2. So if we have two negatives, I do want you to simplify that into a positive. All right, and then the next example, we have x1 and y1 for negative 7, negative 14. And then we have x2 and y2 for 11, 19. And I'll get our setup ready. All right, so we have 19 as y2, y1 is negative 14. x2 is 11, x1 is negative 7. And we all know that two negatives really mean plus, so we're going to take 19 plus 14 and get 33. All right, then we are going to add 11 plus 7 and get 18. So we could take this, if you divide, I do not want decimals for answers, so if you guys can see, if we take 33 divided by 18, we are going to get a crazy decimal. We don't like that. Now, we can reduce it. So you can see here, this calculator does change them to fractions for me. But the simplified answer is 11 over 6, and that is because 33 and 18 are both factors of 3. So we can simplify that to 11 over 6. All right, so I'm actually going to ask you all to, we're going to skip a few. And I will tell you on the back side of this page, I am skipping some on the video because I actually want you guys to try these by yourself if I don't go over them. And then you can check your answers. I will be posting those here in just a little bit. All right, so the next one, we have an x value of 13, a y value of 18, and then x2 is 13, y2 is 11. All right, if we want to find the slope here, the two numbers we are subtracting on top are always the y's. So we got 11 minus 18, and then 13 minus 13. We have two 13s here. So whenever we are looking at this, we get a rise of negative 7 and a run of 0. So whenever you have a 0 in your slope, it could be 0 or it could be undefined, and we just have to ask ourselves, this is our rise. This is an up and down. So if we have a line that only goes up and down, there's no run. A vertical line or one that goes up and down, if we remember from earlier in the week, what kind of slope is that? And we would say on this one, our slope is undefined. And always remember, it is undefined when the 0 is under the fraction bar. When 0 is the under number on the fraction, it's undefined. All right, and then the last example I'm going to go through is on this page is number 8. So you will have 4 I want you guys to check. All right, so I have an x1 and a y1 and an x2 and a y2. Make sure that looks like a y. I wrote the x twice on accident. Make sure you pay attention to details there. I will say, as I grade slope problems, the labeling, if people mess those up, then they tend to mess the problem up. So just make sure you're paying attention to those. All right, so we are subtracting our y values on top, x is on bottom. So my y's, y2 is negative 19, so is y1. So we got a negative 19 here, a negative 19 here. And then on the bottom, my x2 is negative 16 and my y is 20. Now we all know that this means add. So negative 19 plus 19 gives me a 0. Negative 16 minus 20, we can plug this in, we're going to get negative 36. Now, 0 divided by anything, and this is one thing you guys I should have showed you on that last example. But when you take 0 divided by negative 36, gives you an answer of 0. And this one, if you can see, the part that we have a number for is the run, which is your left and right. And a slope like this is a slope of 0. So if you have a 0 in your problem, you do have to make a decision if it's 0 or undefined, and I will zoom out on those so you can see the difference between the two. All right, so when 0 was on bottom, we said it was undefined. When 0 is on top, we actually say that it's 0. So I kind of want to revisit that undefined for just a second. If you use your calculator to divide, if I take negative 7 divided by 0, it's going to give me an error message, even on a cheap calculator, even on a phone. So let me just show you really quick. If I take on my phone negative 7 divided by 0, and I hit enter, it gives me an error message. At the bottom, it says can't divide by 0. It won't even give you a number. So if you can't divide by 0, if you get an answer that says can't do it, that's an undefined. Now if I say 0 divided by negative 36 and hit enter, guess what? It says it's 0. Sorry, there's a glare on the phone. But it will give you an error message if you divide by 0 on those undefined on your calculators. You will not get an error message if the 0 is on top. So I do want you guys to know the other examples, I have provided you a blank copy of the notes. So if you guys would like to go on and attempt those blank ones and check those again before you do your assignment on Friday, if you have any questions about these video notes, please reach out to me. My prep period where I do not have students is between 1:15 and 2 o'clock. So if you guys would like to go over some questions or get some extra practice, that would be the time to reach out, because I can do Google Meets to where we can do like a Zoom call, or you can call me, you can email me. We have lots of different options. I hope you guys have a great rest of the week, and make sure to watch for that Khan Academy assignment for Friday. And other than that, we have no other homework. So get that Khan Academy done and then have a great weekend.